how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with The Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at The Collector. This is from 2009, directed by Marcus Dunstan, and stars Josh Stewart, Reilly, Burke, and Andrea Roth. Now, I remember the big splash and everyone talking about this movie when it came out in the horror community, and it still has a pretty diehard cult following, and I can totally see why. This movie is just a ton of dumb fun. But also, note and think of the time. This movie up at the top, from the writers of Saw 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, in a post-Saw world, everybody was chasing the Saw craze, and we got a lot of those gore films from the early 2000s. And yes, there is some wince-inducing gore in here. You'll need to know that going in. But it's not just the gore, and it does other stuff. The thing is, when you get the Saw-inspired movies, there's a lot of them that are pretty bad. Just, oh, I've got you and now I'm going to torture you. And a lot of the Saw-inspired films aren't great. But this one is a little different. And in doing something new and being a little more creative and having a cool killer and a fun idea, it really plays it up and it really works. So I can see why this movie has such a diehard following, but it is, in my perspective, pretty cheesy. And let me explain by just saying the gist of what this movie's about. In this movie, a thief breaks into a house and he finds that someone has beaten him to the house, the Collector character. And what does the Collector do? Well, he's captured all the family members and rigged the house with booby traps. So this is a booby trap horror movie. And the thing is, that idea is kind of dumb, but at the same time, also pretty fun and pretty cool. I mean, like, I can't help but thinking from a logical standpoint, why would the Collector do this? Because just think of how long this would take to set up. All the hours and hours of lugging heavy stuff into the house and making sure all the traps worked just right. And then who are they even for? He tied up the family. Was he going to let them go? Or was this just for whoever happened to find the traps next, you know, whoever was looking for the family or something? I don't know. And then he even, like, he's wandering through the house, and if he sees you, he'll kill you. But, like, why kill someone when you rigged up an elaborate booby trap? Why not try to lure them into your trap? Because, I mean, you spent so long doing it. But yeah, as implausible as it is, as ridiculous as it is that he would turn your whole house into this booby trap thing, it is super fun and investing. And the thing with investing is, like, you can't help but, like, after those first few traps go off, get really, really into the movie and go, oh man, don't go over there might be a booby trap there. And your mind's reeling and you're thinking of what might be. You know, you see something and you're like, okay, that's a trap, don't do that. And, you know, like, they'll show, like, a pair of scissors, but there's a little wire attached to them. What happens if you pull that? I don't want to pull it myself, maybe someone else could. You know, you do get invested. And the shots really do show off how the traps work, to the point where you get them well enough. And there's some pretty cool shots in this movie, like, you know, walking and then a lightning flash reveals a bunch of, like, ultra thin razor wire. That's pretty cool. But there's one in particular, the bear traps, that, I mean, it's hilarious. Like, he walks into a room, he looks down, and there's a bunch of giant steel bear traps covering the entire floor. And yeah, that's silly. Bear trap room is kind of silly. But at the same time, I'm watching a dumb horror movie. I kind of want to see someone fall into the bear traps in the movie. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of this movie is intended to be dark humor and how much is supposed to be serious. But it is shot seriously, and that really does help it in order to be kind of funnier. But, like, this was the early 2000s. Everybody was too cool for school. We were in a post-Matrix world, and sometimes the edit is a little too flashy, but it takes itself so seriously. And then we get Bear Trap Room. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So overall, I do really enjoy this movie. Yeah, I think some parts of it are kind of dumb, but I tend to like the dumber parts. Like because, you know, this is kind of on the line of Saul, and when it gets to Saul, I don't like it as much, but when it gets kind of ridiculous, I think that's really where the movie hits its stride. And like, you know, the parents are tied up and they got some weird Saul trap. That's okay. But what I like more is the Bear Trap Room, or the chandelier with knives, or this one room where the collectors poured something all over the floor. I'll let you see what that room's about later, but it's pretty nuts. So when this movie goes nuts, I really do like it. And overall, it's a shorter movie, but it keeps up the energy, it keeps up the intensity, and it's a really fun watch. You know, again, kind of on the cheesier side for me, but I really do like this movie, and I definitely recommend it. If you can take a little bit of dark humor, gore, and a few moments of mean-spiritedness, you can definitely really enjoy this movie, especially if you have the right crowd with you. But anyway, in order to analyze it further, let's dive in a little bit and just take a little bit of a look at the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to take a moment and analyze a little further. We open up, we meet our main character. He's a contractor and he's doing renovations on this house. There's a bunch of other people running around too, including some exterminators, and that's where we get the spider imagery, because, you know, they're about to go into the spider's web. Yeah, a little fun with that. But anyway, he's talking to the family, and we get to see that most of the family is dysfunctional, but the little girl is nice, and the little girl befriends him, and they do a little tea party, and that does help set up this relationship between the two of them, which will be important later. But anyway, he also has his own little girl. It seems like he's separated from the girl's mother, and he's going and giving her money. And she goes, "You promised me more money. I don't know what I'm gonna do because I owe money to a loan shark." And that's when he decides that he has to go and rob this house. And I do like that if you are going to do a story with a thief character, at least you take the moment in the setup to make him very sympathetic. He has to do this job because otherwise his wife and kid might get hurt. And you saw him with the family's little girl, and you saw that he could be a really nice person. So he's a bad guy, but not a terrible person. And that's really good to set him up right when you're about to have him go do thief stuff. But anyway, he goes into the house, and it's actually kind of a fun sequence when he tries to go to their safe and crack it, but different things keep distracting him. He keeps hearing stuff, but he'll find that he's not in the house alone, and he'll eventually run into one of the other people. However, this guy that he runs into quickly gets yanked away by a booby trap, and that's when he realizes that he's in some sort of trap himself. And the first few ones that he hits are pretty brutal. There's one with a window frame, and then there's another one when he tries to call for help. I won't say exactly what they are, but both of them are moments where you're like, ugh, oh, got to be careful. And then wandering around the house, finding the traps, figuring out what they're doing, and always being careful. But man, if it was me, I'd have like a stick and I'd be waving that thing in front of me. But you have that, and then he finds the parents in the basement. The parents are tied up. The older daughter didn't want anything to do with it, so she left. And the younger daughter is flat out missing. They don't know where she is. So he can't really get the parents out, but they do offer him some tips, and he does try to find his way out. But of course, the collector is roaming about himself. And yeah, as I hinted at earlier, I don't like that the collector will just kill people if he sees them. I feel like he should maybe set down new traps or trigger existing ones if he sees you and tries to kill you, because the traps are his bread and butter, and when he just throws a knife at someone, that's kind of lame. I want to see him use the booby traps. And also, there is like these things the parents are in. I do wish they just got out quicker and ran around the house and got killed by traps, because when you have them tied up in what's essentially saw traps, that is a little Saw derivative, and I want to see them run around, because I mean, like, who would he even set the traps up for if the parents aren't going to get out? I don't know. But when it's being cheesy and when it's being tense because you don't know where the traps are, that's really where it's at its peak. And I really did like, once it gets going, once they're running around, it really does maintain that energy, maintain that momentum, and it really does keep going and keep firing all the way to the end of the movie. And after this, we would get a sequel. The collector leads into the collection, and then after that, I think they wanted to do one more, and that's still kind of up in the air, and I hope they get to complete the trilogy eventually. Overall, they're just kind of cheesy, fun movies, and I really did wind up enjoying them, and I definitely recommend, again, if you can take some gore and you can take some mean-spirited dark humor, definitely check it out. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.